In 2014, humanity destroyed the planet's atmosphere, resulting in global warming. To address this, scientists create an artificial cooling substance that is dispersed in the air. It reduces heat, but it also triggers a new ice age on the planet. Fortunately, a brilliant scientist named Wilford has created a train powered by a perpetual engine that will continue to travel around the world. The train now houses the planet's few remaining humans, and those who dare to leave die from exposure to the cold. Unfortunately, classism exists in this small society, and the train cars are arranged accordingly. Upper classes at the front, economy classes at the back, and the poor in the tail section. "17 years later, the guards deliver food to the poor, consisting of some nasty protein blocks. Everyone must sit before receiving it, but Curtis refuses until a guard threatens to shoot him. Curtis tells his friend Edgar that he counted the doors because he intends to sneak through the train. The guard then inquires whether there are any experienced violinists in the group, and an elderly couple volunteers because they used to play in the Boston Symphony Orchestra. The guard tries to simply take Gerald because they only need one musician, but Gerald refuses to leave without his wife. This prompts the guard to beat up the woman and break her hand before dragging Gerald away. Curtis then pays a visit to Tanya and her son Timmy, offering to trade protein blocks with the boy. Curtis cuts up his new block and discovers a small capsule containing a message, which he delivers to Gilliam, an elderly, one-armed man sitting next to a Wilford logo on the wall. The message contains the name of a security expert from the prison section, Nam. Curtis wants to find him so he can help them with the revolution, so Gilliam helps Curtis plan their strategy. Later, while everyone is sleeping, a group of guards arrives with Wilford's assistant, Claude, who begins measuring all of the children with a tape. Claude approaches Tanya and moves her skirt, revealing Timmy's hiding place, prompting Timmy to flee as his mother screams. However, the guards apprehend Timmy and beat Tanya up to silence her. After some additional measurements, Claude takes Timmy and Andrew's son, Andy. Andrew, who is devastated, yells and throws a shoe at Claude, prompting the guards to arrest him right away. Moments later, young Franco and old Franco wrapped a clock around Andrew's neck before inserting his arm through a hole in the wall, causing him to scream in pain from the cold. Then Minister Mason arrives and delivers a lengthy speech criticizing the passengers for their misbehavior. She places the thrown shoe on top of Andrew's head, stating that everything on the train must adhere to a specific order. Mason then calls Wilford to get him to give a speech, but he does not answer. The Francos remove Andrew's frozen arm and smash it with a massive hammer to complete the punishment. For the next few days, the poor people begin working hard to put things together to create a tool that will aid in the revolution. Curtis also obtains some chronol, which are small blocks of industrial waste that addicts use to get high, but they are also extremely flammable. He can't stop thinking about Mason's description of the guards' weapons as useless guns, implying that they ran out of bullets during the previous revolt. While everyone works, the group's artist draws all of the important moments and gives Andrew and Tanya portraits of their children as gifts. One day, the alarm goes off unexpectedly, and everyone rushes to get in line for the guard. Their device is complete, so to distract themselves, they begin yelling in protest of the protein blocks. A guard grabs an elderly man and threatens to shoot him, so Curtis rushes forward and places the gun on his own head instead. When the guard pulls the trigger, nothing happens, so Edgar yells that the guns don't have bullets, causing chaos. The device turns out to be a massive train of pipes on wheels, which the group begins pushing through the subsequent compartments, with Curtis riding on top. A massive fight breaks out between the guards and the rebels, but without their weapons, the rebels easily defeat them. Suddenly, a massive guard attempts to block their path, but Gray jumps on top of him and quickly kills him, stealing his keys in the process. The rebels can then easily reach the prison car, where cells are compartments on the walls. Using the keys, they are able to release the security expert Nam, who appears dazed due to his addiction. Curtis grabs a translating device from the wall and explains that he needs help. Curtis requests assistance getting through the doors of the following cars and offers to pay Nam with chronole. Nam smokes a cigarette, surprising everyone since they haven't been available in over 10 years. Chan attempts to steal Nam's matches. Nam throws the cigarette, sparking a fight, but Curtis intervenes to stop him. Nam takes the keys and opens another compartment with his daughter Yona, who is also addicted. Nam agrees to assist if they both receive chronole for each door. After Curtis accepts the deal, Nam begins working on the door's wires. When Yona says there's no one on the other side, Nam opens the door and the group confirms it's empty. When the windows are opened after nearly 2 decades, people are surprised to see sunlight again. Outside, the world is covered in snow, and cities are completely frozen. Nam starts working on the next door, and Yona says he's running just before it opens. The group is surprised to see Paul, a former member of the group, jumping around like a maniac. He wasn't always like this, so they look around and notice the machines that produce protein blocks. Paul was brought here to make the blocks alone, which drove him insane. Curtis discovers that cockroaches are used in the production of protein blocks while inspecting a machine. When he finds another capsule on the floor, he asks Paul about it, but he doesn't know who sent it, so he simply puts it in the food. When Gilliam opens it and finds the word water, Paul informs them that the water supply is located a few cars up. Controlling the water allows for control over the negotiation process. Curtis chats with Yona, who was born on the train, while Nam works to open the next door. Curtis arrives from the outside but has no memory of what happened prior to the train ride. Curtis wonders if Yona is clairvoyant, as she looks at the door and yells, "Don't open it!" Unfortunately, the door opens to reveal a room full of masked men armed with axes. They threaten by holding up and gutting a fish. The rebels do not back down, resulting in a chaotic fight. Both sides quickly lose people as they kill each other mercilessly, leaving blood all over the car. Edgar and Curtis attempt to advance through the crow while killing masked men, but Curtis slips on the fish. Edgar saves himself from a man's attempt to kill him while he is down. The car is escorted by masked men and guards as it approaches a bridge. The men count down and yell, "Happy New Year!" as the train crosses the bridge. Since last year, several ice banks have formed on the bridge. The train shakes violently, causing everyone to fall to the ground except Yona and Nam, who look out the window at the cliffs below. After a guard announces they've crossed the bridge, everyone stands up to fight again, only to be interrupted by Mason and the Francos entering the car. She accuses the rebels of being unappreciative of Wilford's shelter and food and warns them that 74% of them will die. Curtis is furious and throws an axe at her face, but it is blocked. Mason displays binoculars and special masks, prompting Yona to inform Curtis of a long tunnel ahead. As the train enters the tunnel, the car turns dark, but the guards remain visible due to their special masks. The rebels are quickly defeated and die one by one, while Mason enjoys the massacre as if it were a play. As rebels continue to die, Curtis recalls something and orders Chan to start a fire. Chan uses stolen matches to light a torch, and he and Andrew lead a group of rebels into a dark car. The rebels gain the upper hand thanks to fire. Gray threatens to kill an officer if the enemy does not surrender. Mason is unconcerned about a low-level employee, so Gray kills him and continues to fight, stabbing Mason in the leg. Curtis rushes towards Mason, unaware that Edgar has been captured by young Franco. Curtis initially struggles to decide what to do, but ultimately prioritizes the needs of others and pursues Mason, while Franco murders Edgar. When Curtis grabs Mason, she immediately orders everyone to stop fighting. Young Franco attempts to kill Curtis, but Yona emerges from hiding and impales him with a metal rod. After the group captures old Franco, the group washes the blood away in the next car, which had running water. Tanya and Andrew torture Mason to get her to talk, but Mason only knows that the children have been taken to Wilford. Now it's Curtis's turn to threaten her, claiming he can turn off the water supply. Mason, on the other hand, laughs as she explains that the water comes from the front of the train and that the snow and ice are broken as the train moves. Curtis is about to kill her, but Mason persuades him to take her with them because she can guarantee safe passage. That night, the group decides to rest, but Curtis and Gilliam stay up to plan their next move. Gilliam is concerned about the number of people who have already died, so Curtis volunteers to continue on his own, while Gilliam keeps an eye on the group and the prisoners. After seeing Curtis's arm scar, Gilliam accepts. The next morning, Curtis departs with Andrew, Tanya, Nam, Gray, and Yona, always keeping Mason handcuffed at the front. The first vehicle they enter is a greenhouse that grows fruits and vegetables for the upper class. Nam gives Yona some dirt, which she has never touched before, and she is surprised by the worms. The next car is a huge aquarium, and Mason offers the group sushi. Fish are only eaten twice a year on this train because they are necessary to keep the ecological system in balance. Mason tries to eat some sushi as well, but Curtis stops her and makes her eat a protein block instead, which she enjoys because she knows what's in it. After passing through the butcher car, they come across a classroom full of screaming children. Tanya and Andrew immediately ask for their children using the drawings, but a boy only knows that they were taken further along the train. The teacher shows the students a propaganda video in which Wilford is portrayed as their merciful savior. The kids absolutely love it, and they even cheer for their leader. The teacher then plays an instrument and sings a song in which the children learn that if the train ever stops, they will freeze and die. At that moment, they pass by a location in the landscape where 7 people attempted to flee 15 years ago, and their bodies are now frozen statues in the snow. Then a man enters with a cart full of New Year's warm eggs. Both the children and the rebels grab eggs to eat, and Gerald shows up to play the violin for them. After Tanya notices how much Gerald has changed since starting this job, Curtis discovers a capsule in the egg with the message, blood. When the cart man reaches another car, he and the teacher pull guns from the piles of eggs and start shooting. Everyone ducks for cover, but unfortunately, the teacher kills Andrew before Gray ends her with a knife. Mason attempts to shoot Curtis, but he kicks the gun out of her grasp just as a live video feed appears on the classroom TV. The cart man has killed all of the rebels, so old Franco can now shoot Gilliam. A bereaved Curtis exacts his revenge by murdering Mason. The group continues on, and in the next few cars they encounter affluent people using a variety of services, such as doctors, tailors, and a beauty salon. While they cross the dining room, Franco gets moving and notices that the train is turning so that his car and the one with the rebels are adjacent. Franco immediately opens fire, and Curtis fires back, missing all of his shots until they both run out of ammunition. While they reload, Nam notices a snowflake entering through the bullet holes, which he interprets as a clue. Then Franco and Curtis shoot again, but since this isn't going anywhere, they decide to move on. The group passes through a spa before entering a sauna, where they hide in the stalls until Franco and 2 guards catch up with them. Franco opens a stall and murders a high-class passenger before killing the guard who confronts him. Gray then jumps out to kill the other guard and stab Franco in the shoulder, resulting in a fight. As the 2 men struggle, Curtis steps forward to shoot Franco, but he is unable to aim without injuring Gray. When Franco knocks Gray out, Curtis finally shoots, but Franco fires back, injuring Curtis's arm. Tanya also tries to attack Franco, but he just shoots her down. Curtis then fights Franco hand-to-hand, and after much struggle, Franco knocks Curtis out. Then Franco attempts to stab Curtis, but is stopped by Gray. This time, Franco quickly overcomes him and stabs him in the chest, killing him. When Franco opens another stall, he discovers Nam hiding behind a woman, resulting in yet another fight. As Nam pushes Franco down and begins strangling him, Yona emerges and grabs the knife to kill him. However, Nam does not want her to kill and forces him to drop the knife, which is grabbed by an awake Curtis and used to stab Franco in the side. Curtis then rushes to check on Tanya, who wants to see Timmy's drawing one last time before dying. The group keeps moving and comes across a car hosting a loud party full of alcohol and decadence, followed by a car with pits filled with addicts. Nam and Yona seize this opportunity to steal some furs and alcohol. They then enter a computer car and cross a bridge before arriving at Wilford's vault door. Curtis instructs Nam to open the door, while Yona passes out as a result of excessive drinking. Nam asks for more Chronol, which causes Curtis to lose his mind and begin beating on the door. Nam fights him to calm him down before handing him the last cigarette on Earth, which Curtis enjoys while telling his story. During the first few days on the train, the poor had to eat the weak, and babies tasted best. Curtis killed a mother and nearly killed baby Edgar, but Gilliam intervened and offered his arm instead. Everyone soon began to copy him, but Curtis has a scar on his arm as a result of his failed attempt. A few days later, the guards started to arrive with the protein blocks. In exchange, Nam admits that he has been stockpiling Chronol because it is flammable, and that he has built a bomb to blow up the door to the outside. For the past decade, every New Year, Nam looked outside and saw signs that the ice was thawing, so he believes they could escape and survive. Suddenly, the door opens, and Claude emerges to shoot Nam and take his Chronol bomb before informing Curtis that Wilford has invited him to dinner. Curtis enters and finally meets Wilford, who explains that Curtis is the first person to walk the entire length of this train because he has never been to the back. Then Wilford discusses the importance of ecological balance. However, because natural selection would have taken too long, he devised a plan years ago. It turns out he and Gilliam had been working together all along, designing fake revolutions to bring the population down. Curtis should have lost a few cars, but he got lucky. So Wilford summons the egg guy and orders him to kill all of the remaining poor people in the back while saving 18 for their 18th birthday. The sound of screams and gunshots comes through the phone, and Curtis realizes the logo Gilliam was sitting next to was his own personal phone. Meanwhile, Franco wakes up in the sauna and simply takes out the knife. Outside Wilford's car, Yona and Nam awaken, only to see one of the partygoers approaching them. Nam quickly stops him and pushes him into the train's mechanism, killing him, but more angry partygoers arrive. Nam blocks the bridge while instructing Yona to open the door. Returning to Wilford, he brings Curtis into the engine to give him a moment alone, something he hasn't had since he boarded the train. Overwhelmed, Curtis drops to his knees and cries while Wilford brings him the last capsule with a message that says train. Wilford wants Curtis to take his place as leader, saying it's what Gilliam wanted too. Outside, Franco starts making his way through the partygoer crowd. At the same time, Yona finally opens the door. Claude comes out to investigate, but Yona kills her and takes her gun, firing it at Franco until she runs out of bullets. Franco is still alive, so Nam tells Yona to get the crenol back from Claude and the matches from Curtis. Yona runs inside and holds her hand out, but Curtis is under Wilford's manipulation and pushes her away. Desperate, she grabs a fork and lifts a floor tile to reveal Timmy working on powering the engine. Wilford explains that they've run out of parts through the years, so nowadays he uses kids as a replacement. A furious Curtis jumps on Wilford to beat him up. Then he painfully reaches into the tile to stop the engine cogs and gives Yona the matches. While Yona runs out, Andy comes out of a compartment and goes to the engine to activate it again. In just a second, Nam kills Franco, Yona lights up the crenol, and Curtis pushes through the pain of breaking his arm to stop the engine again so that Timmy can climb out. Then the group runs to hug as the crenol explodes, blowing up the door but also causing a giant avalanche that pours down on the train. The cars begin to fall one by one, and the train goes off the tracks until the front jams into the snow and finally stops. Moments later, Timmy and Yona wake up in the car surrounded by fire and the bodies of anybody else. Wearing the stolen furs, they go outside and watch a polar bear as they realize they won't die from freezing. Alright, that's a wrap for today. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. It really helps the channel. Leave a comment with your thoughts and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching and see you next time.